on three. One, two, three. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of True Crime and Cocktails. We're so glad that you're here. As always, I am your host, Lauren Ash, and as always, I am joined by my co-hostess with the most S, Christy Oxborrow. How you feeling?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm exhausted.
She's pooped.
I am. I'm so pooped. The day we're recording this, we are
Yeah.
2 days deep into the new school year, and I
Mm,
am wiped. And it's my children have always like taken the school bus, and this year one of them is too old because he's moved on to high school, so he doesn't have a bus to take. So currently I've just been driving him, so I'll drive him there, but then I also have to drive him to another program that he does off of school property. And so I'm like in that car 4 or 5 times a day. And I'm like, there used to be a time where I didn't leave the house all day.
right.
And I'm just like, I'm pooped. Yeah.
I get
And I'm
it.
I'm only 2 days deep. I'm like, how am I gonna do this for 10 months?
I feel like with anything else, the muscle will build, you know?
Oh yeah. I think eventually I'll get so used to it, it'll be like nothing. But I'm already like, the once the winter weather starts to hit, I'm gonna hate that.
Once the winter weather. Sounds like
It does a vocal warm
the
up.
lips, the
Yeah.
teeth, the tip of the tongue. Red leather, yellow leather.
Now, are these ones that you personally do?
Unique New York. I full disclosure, I don't do a lot of those. I maybe I should do more of them.
Well, I'm like, do we need to start something? Do we need like I don't know if it needs to be a vocal exercise, maybe just a mantra. That's something that we say before we, hit record.
I live to see another day.
Simple and to the point. Simple
Yes.
and to the point. I like that
Somehow
one.
I am still tethered to the earth. Maybe this is
Barely.
barely. Well, I
Barely.
was telling Chrissy before we started, there's a Diet Coke shortage in my area, and
Oh.
I don't know. I mean, I shouldn't be being an alarmist. All I,
Hmm.
all I'm saying
Hmm.
is this. Like, I like to get the heavy groceries when I'm staying in Toronto because I'm downtown. I like to get the heavy things delivered. So I'll go and get the produce or whatever I need and that I can carry comfortably. But if it's like
Sure.
cases of Diet Coke, I like a Gatorade Zero. If I have like laundry detergent tabs, these heavy items, I save up and then I get them delivered.
Sure.
And I've been trying to find a case of Diet Coke anywhere. And then I finally found a grocery store that had it. So I order like my long list of things. And
Hmm.
then the shopper gets there and messages me, no Diet Coke in the store. No Diet Coke in the store. I said, is there any Diet Coke? Nope. I go to the corner store near me where you can get it, loose. You can get loose cans.
Hmm.
I'll do
Hmm.
that in a pinch, in
Of
general.
course.
Two left in the entire store.
Now you
So
bought
I
both,
shouldn't
right?
be, what's that?
You bought both, right?
No. And I'm kicking myself. There was four left. I
Uh,
bought two. I left two?
you knew that there were other Diet Cokies out there. That shouldn't be the name for.
Yeah, what is the name of Diet Coke fans? Coke heads doesn't feel right.
No, no, it was just last week I made a Coke problems. Oh my God, now you're the one with Coke problems.
Oh my God, I am. You're right. Jesus. Anyway, long story short, too late. I don't know, man, but I was like, if there's anything keeping me tethered to the earth, it's my
Mhm.
crispy cans of Diet Coke. That's my thing.
Yeah.
I like that people have started calling them fridge cigarettes. I don't think I think that's fair. I'll own it.
Mhm. Well, I'm
I'll
just
own it.
like, what? How heavy is too heavy to ship? Because, like, do I just start shipping you pallets?
Well, God bless you for even thinking about it. I'm gonna reassess by end of week. I'm like, I just am. I don't want to say there's a shortage when I don't know that for a fact. All I'm saying is, let's put it this way: I haven't been able to find any,
Mm.
and that's alarming. So there's a shortage in my world.
Nothing. makes me happier than moments when you talk about something with the seriousness like it's a natural disaster, like a tornado is on its way, but it's just like this, oh, it's the seriousness of just like there's a shortage. Like you should be like tapping the papers on the desk and, you know.
In other news, Diet Coke seems to be in small supply in downtown Toronto, according to one woman.
Oh, you can't be alone here. There
Uh,
has to be
well,
other,
listen,
Diet Cokies that are looking for. We need a name.
yeah,
We need yeah, we
yeah,
need a name. I can't even
Diet Coke heads, Diet Coke fiends, like there's nothing
uh,
great. It
no,
all feels, maybe there's
no.
another word for fan, you know?
What? Because I'm also like, well, we
Can fans,
can't.
can fans.
Oh, I like that.
That's cute.
I just wanted it to make sure it was specific to Diet Coke because
I
I don't
know.
want it to just be soda or pop
Yeah, we're not,
because those are a whole other thing.
this is a specific, you're right.
Can't you? Because I don't want anyone to think you can't find one, just replace it with another. That's not how it works.
Diet diehards.
Okay, that does sound a little like um
Like it's like an exercise plan or an eating
yeah,
plan. That wasn't what I was
I was
insinuating.
trying to think of the title of one, like one diet. Couldn't do it. And I'm like, there's one that started with Atkins.
There it is.
There we go. That's so
We
pretend
all
my brain
remember
thought
when
of that faster.
I did Atkins. Oh my God, what, almost 20 years ago, and I would eat pizza cheddar jalapeno dipping sauces with a spoon, and I would call it a savory pudding. I don't
Oh,
think like, that diet's
hmm.
not, listen, it's not sustainable. I'm not here to promote any diet, for it to be very clear, ever. Um, but I feel like I know a lot of people that we went through an Atkins phase 20 years ago, and man, oh man.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, Diet Coke diehards, just to make sure that
Yeah.
that Coke gets in there.
DC, a lot of people call it DC. There could be something in that.
DC diehards.
DC diehards.
I mean, that just now it just sounds like you're superheroes.
Now it sounds like we're working for Washington, DC. That's not what we're doing.
Don't love that. See, again, it's tough to come up with a name because you don't want to just focus on the word diet, but you also don't want to focus just on the word Coke. So it's a real mixed bag of coming up with a
Honestly, I
name.
know that you're gonna maybe bulk at this, but I'm back to Diet Cokies. I think I think honestly,
It's kind of cute. Like
it's kind of cute.
it's not
Diet
the worst thing.
Cokeaholics,
Interesting. Okay.
but then maybe we don't want to make light of substance issues. So again, all roads are leading back to Diet Cokies.
I mean, okay, I'm just gonna do a quick Google. What are Diet Coke fans called?
And listen, if you are also a purveyor of an enjoyer of Diet Coke in the Greater Toronto area, comment. Let us know. Have you noticed a shortage? Again, I'm not trying to be an alarmist. I want the facts.
Now, this is telling me that there is not a specific name. Um, Diet Coke lovers, Diet Coke fans, Diet Coke girlies are so
No.
far. I just,
I Googled Diet Cokies, and you know what came up? Diet cookies. I thought I was misspelling.
of course, that makes so
No,
much
search for
sense.
Diet Cokies.
Di-
No, I didn't mean Diet Cookies. Okay.
Diet Cokies is adorable.
And listen, it's obviously not a thing. I guess maybe we're starting it. Like, I'm shocked that there isn't a specific name for Diet Coke fans because
There,
here's the thing.
there are literally dozens of you.
I don't believe personally that there is anybody who just likes Diet Coke. It's you hate
Oh,
it or it's part of your personality. Like, I don't know that there's anybody who's just a
mhm.
casual Diet Coke drinker.
Oh yeah, that makes
I think
sense.
those casual Diet Coke drinkers, they're Coke Zero people, and that's not our people. That's something else. Respect.
Hmm.
I see you from afar. I recognize you. When I was buying my Diet Cokes today at the store, the gentleman working behind the till, he said, Is there any real difference between this and Coke Zero?
Oh,
And
get out.
I couldn't stop myself. I literally, I will recreate for you exactly how I responded. I promise you, this is exactly how I responded. I'm fiddling in my wallet. And he's like, is there really any difference between Diet Coke and Coke Zero? And I went, yeah, there's a difference. Literally. And then he kind of laughed. He was like, have a good day. And I couldn't let it go. I said, just know there's a big difference. He was like, okay. Like he was clearly just trying to make conversation.
Mhm.
And then I also felt like saying, sir, you're a man who looks to be roughly in his early 60s. Have you made it to 60 and never sipped the sweet nectar of a can of Diet Coke? Have you never experimented, gone out a gone out for a night on the town with a can of Coke Zero and then realized, no, no, this isn't what I want? Never? And then to that I say, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry that that's been your existence on
Mhm.
this planet.
Again, we've wavered back into you being so serious about this topic. Again, you being super serious about, and I mean this with no disrespect,
Of
like
course.
the silliest of topics is my favorite thing in the world.
I mean, careful. Silly is a
Oh,
tough.
oh no,
It's a big word.
I'm not meaning that Diet Coke is a silly thing because everybody has their Diet Coke. I'm
Of
meaning
course.
their thing, their thing that they're like, I could not, there's just nothing that replaces it.
Hmm.
And I get that. I
Oh
get
yeah,
that.
no, no. And I'm just teasing you. I know
But
it's my passion is ridiculous, and
it's not.
I'm
Everybody has a
passionate about
passion.
life. I'm passionate about world issues and stuff too. But we like to
Of
try and keep it
course.
light on this show, considering half of the show is death and bodies being dismembered and whatnot.
Yeah.
We like to keep it light in the first half, which I think is our prerogative.
We like to keep it light, as light and crisp as a Diet Coke.
Why did I
Yeah.
go into a Price is Right theme song?
Don't know, but I'm here for it. Again,
Wow.
we've circled back to Diet Cokies.
I would like to pose it to the group. And by group, I mean the Diet Cokies. You know what I'm saying? If you're
Yeah.
interested, folks, let's get on it.
And I think you're right. I think it's either you have had it and it's not your thing, or you've had it and it's everything.
Yeah. There's
I don't
no,
think
I
there's an in
honestly
between.
don't think there's I don't know, personally know a casual Diet Coke drinker. I'm not, I'm not being funny. Like, I really don't.
Mhm. I birthed one.
A casual Diet Coke drinker?
No, sorry. I birthed I believe he's a Diet Cokie.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like saying it that way.
You came up with it.
I know. I know. But if you think we didn't lug a flat of Diet Coke into that dorm room, I mean, I of course have no idea how long it'll last, but he was like, I should get Diet Coke. And I was like, great, the price on this is better than anything else. Let's go that. Because I know enough, don't suggest bottle. I know that much.
Never. Never.
And
It's
of
swill. I mean, in a pinch, of course, but
course, I couldn't be happier about this. And nothing makes me want to find that Diet Coke ghost for you
oh,
more than anything. I have searched multiple stores because I've been looking for the regular one, the one holding the little regular Coke. I've been searching for that. Can't find it anywhere.
listen, feels like you're being ghosted by the Coke ghosts.
I am. I am. It's all I'm asking. I'm looking for these whimsical Coke ghosts, the whimsical Cokies. I want one. I don't think that's a thing. I want the regular one for me. I want the diet one for you. And I just feel like that would be happy. But again, I'm still like 9 months later, not even. I think I started searching about a year ago, still looking for that fucking gingerbread cowboy little gingerbread stool.
You never got
I never
gingerbread?
found one. I do not own any of those food stools, but
I
let
thought
me
you got for some reason, I thought you got
no.
the little ginger boy.
I
Was that what we
never
were calling
found
him?
him. Yeah, I
Yeah.
never found him anywhere. And here's the thing. Some people have gone so far over the top, which nothing but respect for, buying as many of those food stools as they can. But I've heard people who are using them as actual like stools and like sitting on them. One girl was sitting on one and it cracked and she got like badly injured. And so people are like, get them out. You can't use them. So now people are afraid of them. And I'm like, so I hope that doesn't mean Ginger Boy's not going to make a comeback because I still dream about him.
See, that's to me when you know you need an item. Like if
Mhm.
you can't shake it, if it
Yeah.
sticks with you in your soul,
Yeah.
then you need to have that item.
There's a
Period.
reason we don't do drug counseling.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I know. I'm a
I
terrible enabler. I'd be
I
like,
hear
if
it.
you
I hear
feel it
it.
in your soul.
Well, the fact that it's been like, because it was early, I mean, it might have been like October, early November-ish last year, but it was early when I got the idea, when I heard that these were a thing, and I'm still thinking about it. I've seen the Oreo stool in person, and I've seen, I think, the macaron, but that's it.
But I think it's fair that these are decorative items only.
Oh yeah,
You know what I
that's
mean?
all.
Like
I
I
don't
don't
want
know
to
that we
put my
need
ass on it.
yeah, I think it's like, you know, sit at your own risk, you
Oh,
know?
100%. I still just want this as a decorative piece. I've said what I've said. Um, Again, I'm also never found my little summer ghost girl that I was obsessed with. Never found her anywhere.
This is sad.
And here's the thing. I know I have Ginger Boy saved in here somewhere, and I will bet anything. There he is. I saved this photo November 9th, 2024,
Wow. We're coming up
and
on a
I
year.
still haven't found him. And
God, he's so cute.
I'll tell you this. I want it more than I wanted it last time. Like I'm just like, how far do I need to drive?
Yeah.
What do I need to do to find him again?
Is it Home Sense?
Like, yes. So up for me, I have a Winners here in town that carries similar items, or Regina is the closest large city, and
I
they
remember
have
this
the
because
Marshalls.
last year, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I tried to order you one. I like try and you can't order anything from HomeSense online. And to that I say, dear HomeSense, we have
Mm.
something called online shopping now.
Yeah.
And I think you're missing some opportunities to unload a
Yes.
lot of ginger children. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. I think the joke is, I don't even think they really have to advertise at this point anymore because it feels like the Home Sense, because I think Home Sense Winners and maybe Home Goods and Marshalls are kind of all have the similar thing. So many people get obsessed with like one item from one of those stores, and then it's suddenly all you're seeing are videos of people. This is my 12th time going to a different store hunting for the lobster beaded bag or
Right.
one of these fruit stools or whatever that they are. And I think because they're doing that, they're like, well, we're not, they're giving us so much advertising by being like, here's a video of me going through the store looking for these items. I think they'll never do online, which is a shame.
It
Like
just feels like in
last
this
time.
day and age, it's
Yeah,
wild to me that it's not a department that they ever thought, hey, maybe we should work on building that out. I mean, I'll say it. I feel like they're leaving money on the table because if people are that desperate for the items that they go hunting for them, I understand
yeah,
that there's a certain level of like that can help sell more. I
sure.
get that. But are we past that? Like to me, it's like, yeah, but I mean, I just feel like not having any online shopping is wild. It's 2025.
Oh, yeah. I also can't imagine the nightmare of shipping any of those
Heavy
stools
things. Yeah.
because I assume those are so easily breakable.
And they could come damaged. Yeah,
I'm
you're not wrong.
terrified of finding one because I'm scared of it being in the car. I mean, obviously I'll buckle it. Uh, Ideally, I'm not alone so that I can sit in the passenger seat and use my hands um, as nature's seatbelt.
The quote, obviously I'll buckle it, is absolutely adorable. I just have an image of you in the driver's seat and then the little ginger boy in the
Yep.
passenger seat and you being like, all right, let's go, bud.
100%. Although you'll love this. It might have to be the back seat because if something happens and that airbag deploys,
God forbid.
it'll crack his little hat.
Yeah, this is okay, I'm so sorry. This is like the equivalent of needing a rear facing car seat, i.e. it's got to go in the back.
Yeah. And now I'm like, do I also bring pillow? Do I? Just in case. Anytime I'm going searching for one, laundry basket, pillow, pillow, pillow on the, put him in there, pillow on top. Maybe packing tape around the whole thing just to get it home. Again, I dream about you, Ginger Boy.
Oh my God. This, you know how you said earlier everybody's got a
Yeah,
Diet Coke? I think I found yours. Um,
you're right.
it's in your soul.
You're right. He is in my soul. I have to stop using like he pronouns on this thing the way say he is in my soul. Um, I just, it's one of those like I love him so much and I just want to find it. I thought I wanted to find the little Coke can ghost badly, and I did, but it's the ginger boy.
Well, give it a year. If you still haven't found the Coke Ghost in a year, I'm certain we're probably going to be right back where we are now,
You're
having a
right.
real discussion about how
You're right.
badly you want Coke Ghost.
My concern
Yeah.
is that they're gonna be like, these were popular last year. Let's bring out Ginger Boy again. And they'll bring him out slightly tweaked. Like they'll do something a little different to be
You're
like,
worried that he's going to have a sloppy paint job or the design's going to be a little
I'm
different.
worried it won't be exactly the same. I'm worried they're gonna be like, but if we put out this same thing, people who already have it aren't gonna buy it. We weren't finding it to begin with. Home goods, home sense winners, whatever we're calling you. Let just bring out the same item.
I know it's not something I've ever heard you say, but when you were about to say, "What, bring it out, home goods," I thought you were going to say,
Mhm.
"Bring it out, home slice." That's really what my brain thought.
Home slice.
Yeah.
I'll publicly call them home slice if they will make them available. I mean,
Listen,
this is the joke. Is this the year that I'm going to drive for days? Oh, how is that going to get home? I guess I'm buying laundry baskets and pillows from Home Sense before I go or before I get back. Just something to carry them in carefully.
you could get a roll of bubble wrap,
Oh, yeah.
just wrap it around a bunch of times.
Yeah, that's probably necessary.
Listen. Well, very quickly, this episode is coming out on September 9th, and I would be remiss if I didn't remind people of this. That's two
Yeah.
days before my album drops. Now,
Hey,
as I spoke about on the show a few weeks ago, I was really keen, I'll say it, jazzed, that I was getting to offer the album half price for the first 3 weeks. Guess what? It didn't happen. Technology doesn't always align. And even when I was told from the company that, yes, it's been fixed, it'll be changed, it never was.
mm,
Never was. But I want you all to know I really genuinely tried. And
mhm.
I'm not I know that this is a tough economic time. I know that $10 is that's a lot of money. Um but if you're in a position and would like to help me out, a purchase on iTunes in the next 2 days would be very meaningful to me, very helpful to me in attempting to try and chart on Billboard with this album, which has become, this is another Diet Coke in my life. Just a goal. Just a goal. And
Mhm.
then the last thing, the two more humble asks. One, when the album comes out on Thursday, the 11th, maybe put it on repeat. You go to work, just leave it playing in the house on repeat all day. Who gets
Pets
hurt?
would love it.
Who's getting hurt?
Nothing. You're
Nobody.
you're giving the pets that are staying at home while you're at work, you're making them think people are home.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, oh, and I should also mention if you do purchase the album on iTunes, take a screen grab saying you've pre-ordered it. Send that to laurenashcontest@gmail.com. That's 5 entries into my contest to win a signed Dina Funko Pop. If you pre-save the album on Spotify, take a screenshot of that, send it in. That's 1 entry. But I wanted to give it more oomph because I
Of
understand
course.
you're spending $10 on the album. Well, I'll give you 5 entries into the contest. That's $2 an entry, which honestly I feel like is not the worst.
No,
This
I
is
think that's
anyway.
great.
And final piece of information, my tour, my Canadian tour, 10 dates, Ontario, Quebec. Go to laurenash.band. Come come see me. The VIP package, I don't remember if I had mentioned this on last week's or not. You're going to get a signed autograph CD.
Hmm.
You're going to get a little Lauren Ash backpack. You're going to get an exclusive VIP lanyard and you're going to get to take a picture with me. I think that's fun.
That's beautiful.
And it's today we're recording this on the day that they went on pre-sale. People seem very jazzed about the VIP and that makes me
Oh,
jazzed.
I love that.
I know. So listen, go into laurenash.com, get the, and those tickets there are very this isn't a ploy, legitimately very limited. Um so get them while you can. I don't even know if they'll still be available at the time this airs. Who knows? They could sell like crazy in the next few days. But I put that out there. These are the things going on in my life. These are the updates. I feel like I'm birthing a baby. I feel like I'm having a scheduled C-section on Thursday. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And it's like then they're
Mhm.
gonna just remove the album from me and it'll be out in the world. And
Mhm.
it's been so much work. It's been so much time.
Yeah,
I just would like it to do well.
of
I'd like
course.
this tour to do well. I'd like to continue doing this.
Of
I'd like it to
course.
not feel like it was all for naught, you know?
Of course. I guarantee you are someone's Diet Coke.
That's one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard.
So I guarantee they're going to be jazzed. Why wouldn't they be?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm so deep in the back end of everything. Like I'm so deep in the like paperwork and the bullshitty part of all of it. I've also
Mhm.
determined that I'm self-managing. Like I'm like I am managing so many other people right now to make sure that everything happens the way it's supposed to for this album and this tour.
Mm.
Um I again, a skill I don't want to have. I guess I do. I mean, thank God, but also, it's exhausting. It's my 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. work days that have been happening
Mm.
routinely, just trying to get it all done, trying to get everything, all the boxes checked. I think I've just lost perspective. You know what I
Of
mean?
course.
The
Yeah.
creative, writing the music, performing the music, building the tour, all of those things. I'll do that again in a heartbeat.
Of
That's
course.
all, that's all fantastic. That's the joy. All of this, I'm just like, I pray it pays off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just
Yeah.
deep. I'm too deep in it. You know what I mean? I'm very deep in it.
Yeah. Oh, this is 100% you leading up to giving birth.
It really is. I feel like
Like,
I've been
yeah.
gestating. I feel like this has been growing within me.
Mhm.
It's become all consuming. It's all I've done, truly. Um, yeah. Yeah. And then it's of course it's also like, you know, you don't make it in the hopes that you don't make it because it's like I want people to like it. I mean, you hope that people will like it,
Of
right? Or it's some
course.
people. Not everything is for everybody. I keep
Of
saying this.
course.
But you know, it's also like, yeah, it's just very vulnerable. It's very vulnerable to be like, oh, here are all my feelings. Here
Of
they are.
course.
I feel them deeply. Please
I'm j-
don't, please don't, please don't destroy me. Please.
I'm just disappointed that we came up with Diet Cokies too late for like album title, song title. Like,
I
you know what I mean?
know. I know.
Why
Oh,
was now
oh,
the time?
I also have to put this out there. Forgive me, I can't remember the name of the person on social media who I posted, but shout out to this person who is like, I'm going to bring friendship bracelets to the shows. And I was like, if people start trading Lauren Ash music themed bracelets at my shows, like the Taylor Swift
That's
eras thing, I would die with joy. There is nothing that would make me happier than people with like the song titles and everything.
right.
Ah,
Yeah.
and then that's an opportunity for Diet Cokies,
Oh, you're right. You're right.
right?
It throws me back to like teen years when we did the fun bead necklaces.
I just found some of ours. I was going through some of my stuff here. I found a bunch of our old bead necklaces.
Because I mean, I assume you remember the time we were sitting in your room and I was just throwing beads around and you had like, I can't remember what it was, but I feel like it was like a very profound thing to say. And I just got quiet and just held up this mangled mess and went, I made this because
Oh,
that's
I was
all I
having,
had done.
I vividly remember it
Of
because I
course
was
you
going
do.
on a rant about my high school boyfriend at the time, whoever, well, I don't remember which one it was at the time.
Either one deserved it. I stand by it.
But yeah, I was like, "Can you believe this? I can't believe that." Like I went on some long rant
Hmm.
about how I had been, how I felt like I had been wronged in some way, and you were like,
Of
"I made
course.
this."
Yeah, because you're like, here are the feelings that I'm feeling. Here's me in
Yep.
this relationship. Here's me. And there's me not in a relationship, just being like, well, I got this. And it was just like this. I don't even know what it was. I was taking like beads off different necklaces and shoving them into one. I don't think I kept the monstrosity. Like, I think I undid it, but
Well, that's a shame. I wish we still had it now.
it's true. I do have one somewhere that has like little plastic airplanes on it
I
that I
remember that.
wore on the plane at one point, but I also have one that's like just a bunch of like stars. That was always a favorite of mine.
I had
Just the
one that was a
star
bunch of
beads,
sparkle star beads. That was my favorite. I can't find
right?
it. That was always my favorite. Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of energy, the Lauren Ash concert energy, are those
Listen,
necklaces.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I
Friendship
will just be,
bracelets, get out, love
come
it.
on. I think it's the cutest. I
Yes,
love that. Anyway, so I put it out there. If you're coming to any of the shows, I highly encourage bring some friendship bracelets, start trading them. Like, let's go.
yes. Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
I love this so much. I also love that I was asked to do a favor by my own Diet Cokie, and I he's not gonna like that. He doesn't listen to the show. It's fine. Um, he asked me to do him a favor, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll write that down as a note. Do it in the first bit." And here I am, almost out of the first bit, and I haven't done it yet.
I
So
was
I'm
gonna remind you if you
thank
didn't get
you,
there.
thank you so much. So I'm gonna give a shout out to Brock. I like that my son has pushed this show on you. I don't know if you've even made it this far into the show. If you have, good on you, Brock. Um, but I just like that my child is out there pushing this show on everybody he meets at university, whether they listen to podcasts or true crime at all.
Yeah.
He's just like, "Oh, you have a long drive coming up? Well, you know what you could do to fill that time? Have you heard of True Crime and Cocktails?" Like
I like
I'm
that
not asking him to do it.
he's boots on the ground marketing for us. You know what I
He
mean?
is.
He's
Yes.
appealing to the youth. He's like, hey,
Yeah.
which listen, did I think that the 18 to 22-year-old male identifying bracket was our target
Mm-mm.
audience?
Nope.
No, but it could be.
Well, yeah. Does he listen to the show? No.
Yeah.
No, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I never push anyone that I know to listen. I just like that he's always like, "Hey, so I met someone and I told them to listen to your show."
And like I said to you earlier, if only he could do the same kind of thing with pop punk music that has a nostalgia early 2000s vibe. I mean, again, I'm just saying, like if you're
Mhm,
striking
mhm.
out with the podcast, you pivot.
Yeah, I mean, in the moment where you're like, "I see you've got headphones on. Do you want something to listen to?" Like that, yeah.
You know what we should have? We should get him some cards made with the QR code on them so he can just,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the fact that he's already dropping this on his own, and I've never once said, "Hey, you should push the show." But I
I'm just
like,
curious, does this get back to Brock? Brock, if you're listening right now, maybe you tell three people and then they'll tell three people, that kind of thing.
just let me know who I'm shouting out next
I
week,
was just
Brock.
gonna say, I'm like, what are we getting ourselves into? What kind of business is this? you
The
know?
banter at the beginning is going to suddenly turn into a very long list of names.
It's going to be like the
Yeah.
beginning of Romper Room, or was it the end
Yeah.
when she would look into the mirror, right?
Oh, yeah. I think it was the end, but I don't know.
I see
I can't remember.
Lauren and Christy and
Yeah. And apparently this week, Brock.
well, kudos to you, Brock, if you're
Yeah.
here. If you're
Yeah.
not, you'll never know and
No. And
he'll
here's
never
the other
know
thing.
and
It's okay if it's not for you.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, how strange would it be for a boy in his early 20s to not respond to two women in their 40s who talk about things like perimenopause and Diet Cokies? Weird.
Well, that's the joke for the kid that pushes this on other people. He doesn't know what he's in for. Like he's not
Yeah.
sure of the usual thing, and that's okay.
I can make up a one sheet of talking points for him if he needs it. You know what I mean? Like a PR press package.
Mm-hmm.
We can throw that together for him if we need to.
Of course. And then what we need like a student at each university. We just need like a full collection of them.
Yeah.
And then we're like boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's what we're gonna call it.
Boots on the ground. A TCAC movement.
This writes itself.
It does. What you drinking over there?
Oh, I have the ending of a Slurpee at this point.
Yeah, I've got a end of a Diet Coke, which I should be rationing, by the way.
Oh, there once it's in your soul, you just how can you ration?
It's difficult.
Mm.
All right, today we're of course discussing Peter Falconio. I don't know anything about this case, and if you don't, have no fear because I've got a synopsis right here. In July 2001, Peter Falconio and his girlfriend Joanna Lees were on vacation. Excuse me, Joanne Lees were on vacation in the Australian outback when they were confronted by an unknown man. The man allegedly shot Peter and tried to abduct Joanne, but Joanne managed to escape and hide in the bushes for hours before getting to safety. When police arrived at the scene hours later, there was no sign of Peter anywhere. The case turned into one of the largest manhunts in Australian history, which led to a sensational trial and a full on media circus. How did police find the unknown man? Was he really the killer? And what happened to the body of Peter Falconio? Christy Oxborrow investigates.
We're headed to Australia, so I'm gonna do my best
Down under.
with some of these. I did I mean, the amount of time I spend where I type the title or the name and pronunciation, and then I listen, and I'm like, and so I'm saying it out loud so I can figure out how am I writing it phonetically so I can say it properly. Um, I swear I swear I do try. So,
Oh, you do great.
well, we'll see. This one isn't as difficult as some of the others as far as pronunciations go, but there's still, I think, a couple in there that are going to get interesting. So, disclaimer, as we do, this episode will contain mentions of rape, so trigger warning for those who need it. Peter Marco Falconio was born September 20th, 1972, in Hepworth, West Yorkshire, England. He was the third of four sons born to Joan and Luciano Falconio. Peter attended Holmfirth High School and later Huddersfield Technical College, which in 2008 merged with Dewsbury College to become what is now known as Kirklees College. I just wanted to be up to date. In 1996, Peter met a girl named Joanne Lees at a nightclub. A year later, they moved to Brighton, where Peter studied building construction management at the University of Brighton. After the move, Joanne got a job as a travel agent, and since the couple had big dreams of traveling the world together, Joanne soon started planning what they called their trip of a lifetime. From the best I can tell, Peter graduated from Brighton University in early 2000, and on November 15th of that year, Peter and Joanne set off on their year-long trip around the world. They spent time in Nepal, Malaysia, Singapore, Cambodia, and Thailand before heading to Australia in January 2001. They arrived in Sydney with working holiday visas, which allowed the couple to work while they were traveling. They were able to save up and buy a 30-year-old Volkswagen Combi van, which they planned to use to travel throughout Australia. On June 25th, just over 5 months after they first arrived in Sydney, Peter and Joanne set out in their van to Canberra. From there, they made stops in Melbourne, Adelaide, and Uluru before getting to Alice Springs on July 13th. The plan was that they would eventually head to Darwin before making their way to Brisbane, where they would sell the van and fly to New Zealand. While in Alice Springs on July 14th, Peter had an appointment with an accountant to talk about some sort of tax issue he was having. Apparently, while working in Sydney, Peter had been paying taxes as though he was a resident, but he had a holiday visa, so he should have been paying taxes like a non-resident. I don't know if this means he owed money or if he paid too much in taxes. I wasn't sure. So Joanne went to the library to check her email. The couple had breakfast together at the Green Frog Cafe, and then they purchased separate plane tickets. Joanne's flight was from Brisbane to Sydney. Peter was going to fly with a male friend to Papua New Guinea before heading to New Zealand. Joanne said that they were going to be apart for 10 days before meeting in Brisbane and then flying to Fiji. Now, according to the memoir No Turning Back that Joanne wrote in 2006, Joanne and Peter were planning on getting married in Bora Bora before heading home. So was this 10-day period without each other some sort of like bachelorette party? Or maybe Peter made the last minute decision to add Papua New Guinea to the trip and Joanne just simply didn't want to go. Or some have said, did they have the time apart because they allegedly got into an argument the night before they bought those tickets? Whatever their reason for their separate planning mid-trip, after buying their respective plane tickets, Peter and Joanne spent the afternoon at the Camel Cup races, which is exactly what you're picturing. Local farmers literally racing camels. The very first Camel Cup race started as a bet between friends in 1970. It was so popular, they just brought it back and it's become an annual event. The location for the event has changed over the years, but according to AliceSprings.com, the races generally take place in Blatherskite Park, which is the only venue within the Southern Hemisphere built specifically for camel racing. Because not only is camel racing a thing, it's also incredibly popular, especially in North Africa, the Middle East, and Mongolia. I mean, it's not as popular as horse racing, which obviously is very popular worldwide, especially in like Australia, Great Britain, the United States, Japan, China, France, New Zealand. A fun fact about horse racing in New Zealand, and I know you're going to think I'm making this up, but I'm not. Specifically, the harness racing group, where the jockeys ride on like two-wheeled carts pulled behind the horse. In the harness racing group in a league in New Zealand, there is a horse named Nicolas Cage.
Stop. How?
Sometimes when I'm looking for, sometimes when I'm like in mid-note and I remember, oh God, I want to drop in Nicolas Cage somewhere, I'll sometimes just Google Nicolas Cage and some sort of like a, if I may, a buzzword from the episode,
Sure.
whether it's the location or whether it's something. Um, and I literally was like Googling his name and these different countries. And then as soon as I did Nicolas Cage, New Zealand, it was like Nicolas Cage wins this tournament. And I was like, what does that mean? Nicolas Cage is a horse. And in that moment, I was like, I'm gonna have to get into horse. I have to find a way to get from camel racing to horse racing so that I can bring him up in this way. Because what are the odds of this?
You know what's funny?
Mm,
In every episode that you've done this prior to now, I've
yeah.
forgotten Today, I was keenly aware. I was like, ooh, where's it going to come? What's it going to be?
Hmm.
Not in a million years did I see that coming.
Yeah, that was my hope. My hope is always if I'm gonna do it, I put it somewhere where you're not expecting it. That's
Yeah.
always the hope.
Fantastic work.
And I could not have been happier. I'll also
What?
say, stunning horse.
I believe it. What are
Stunning
the
horse.
chances? That's so specific.
I know. I'm gonna obviously put a picture of the horse in the case file. I'm
Yes.
just I feel awful knowing if I put the horse's name on the picture, people will know. I want them to be delighted when they hear the episode and be like, that's who the horse is. You know what I mean?
You
So I
should
might
just
leave it unlabeled.
put the horse in question or the horse mentioned.
Oh, I like that. I like
Yep.
that a lot. Um, I also love, I felt the need to write the only difference between the Nicolas Cage, the horse, and the actor, the horse has an H in his name, which makes sense.
Right.
So that's how you tell it apart. Apparently, horse Nicolas Cage upstaged two heavyweight rivals at the Founders Cup in 2023. There has not been a lot of information about him since. So I guess my once an episode Nick Cage references, I'm gonna have to skip the horse and stick with the actor. Who knows? Maybe I'll discover more animals named Nicolas Cage along the way.
I cannot wait.
It's the hope. I don't know if I'll ever be able to get anything as fun as a horse with the same name,
No.
but I've also lost count. I think this is 8 or 9 that I've done in a row, which
It's
is
and
insane.
it's been feeling seamless, I might also add.
Thank you so much. Ah, so all of this about the camel race. So Peter and Joanne watched the Camel Cup races and then stuck around to watch the Miss Camel Cup beauty pageant, which features female human contestants, as opposed to the Miss Camel beauty pageant in Saudi Arabia, which features actual camels vying for the title, which I am delighted by. Uh, Peter and Joanne ate at a chicken restaurant called Red Rooster before leaving town, heading towards Devil's Marbles, which is a group of boulders in Warramungo, Northern Territory, about 412 kilometers north of Alice Springs. With Joanne in the driver's seat, they left Alice Springs around 4 p.m. and arrived at the Tea Tree Roadhouse at 6:21 p.m. They refueled the van and shared a joint while watching the sunset. Peter took over driving when they got back onto Stewart Highway around 7:30 p.m. They were about 11 kilometers north of Barrow Creek. A white truck, or ute, as the Aussies say, pulled up alongside the van and motioned for Peter to pull over. The driver said he had seen sparks coming out of the van's exhaust. Peter got out of the van, walked around to the back of the vehicle with the unknown driver, thanked him for stopping. Peter returned to the front. He grabbed his cigarettes and asked Joanne to get in the driver's seat and rev the engine. Joanne said while she was revving the engine, she heard a loud bang, which at first she thought was the van backfiring because that had happened frequently throughout their trip. The unknown driver walked up to the van's driver's side window and shoved a gun in Joanne's face. Joanne later said the moment she saw the gun, she immediately wondered if the sound she heard was maybe not the van backfiring, but rather a gunshot. The unknown driver punched Joanne, then secured her hands behind her back with a series of black cable ties and tape, looped together in like a makeshift handcuffs. He tried to tape Joanne's feet and mouth, but she struggled too hard, so the driver just pulled Joanne from the van and dragged her to the back of his truck. She said there was a large brown dog sitting in the front of the truck. With Joanne in the back, the driver disappeared, and Joanne said she could hear noise that sounded almost like scraping gravel. Fearing for her life, Joanne managed to get out of the truck and ran into some bushes on the side of the road. She said she could hear the driver and his dog walking around looking for her, and she saw the driver using a flashlight or torch. But while they walked near her 3 separate times, Joanne managed to remain hidden. Joanne said the driver and his dog eventually got back into the truck, and from the sounds of it, they drove south. Fearing he would come back, Joanne waited 5 hours before making her way to the road to flag down a passing vehicle. At 12:35 a.m., Vincent Miller and Rodney Adams noticed Joanne while they were driving a road train. Basically, it's a semi truck that has just so many trailers attached to the back of it. Apparently, due to the weight and length of a road train, the practice of road trains is prohibited in North America. So they removed Joanne's handcuffs and briefly helped her search the area for Peter and the van, but they had no luck. So Vincent and Rodney drove Joanne to the Barrow Creek Hotel, where Joanne called the police around 1:30 a.m. Police arrived 3 hours later to take statements and gather evidence, and then they waited another 2.5 hours before heading to the site to search for Peter. Now, at first, I was like, why would they wait? And then I remembered July is the middle of winter for Australia, meaning the days are shorter. So it seems police basically waited until sunrise to go search because they said they went around 7. I Googled on that particular day, the sunrise happened there at 7:16. So that all then makes sense. A horse named Nicolas Cage, less sense. This,
Absolutely.
but also perfect sense? I don't know. So when police finally went to the area, they discovered a pool of blood just off the road, but neither Peter nor the combi van were in sight. Police set up roadblocks on the 12 likely roads leaving the area, searching for the van. It was later discovered hidden behind some bushes about 80 to 100 meters from the highway where Peter had originally stopped. There was little evidence at the scene, no sign of Peter. Even though it was believed he was shot, there was no bullet casing anywhere. 4 days after the crime, Teddy Egan, an Aboriginal tracker, was brought in to search the scene. Due to the amount of police presence that had come and gone from the scene, the tracker was only able to find 3 footprints. All 3 were a match to Joanne. There were no distinguishable tracks belonging to Peter, the alleged killer, or even the killer's dog. The tracker that did, though, point out the spot where you could tell that Joanne had hidden in the bushes. Some DNA was found in the combi van. Most seemed too weak to be tested. The blood on the side of the road was tested and came back as a match to Peter Falconio. He was described as happy, fun-loving, and kind. Peter was 28 at the time of his presumed death. A blood smear on the back of Joanne's shirt was tested and came back as a match to an unknown male. Joanne described the driver who attacked her as white, taller than 5'11", stocky build, 45 years or older, with long, scraggly gray hair and a large, droopy mustache. She said he was wearing a black baseball cap at the time. A comfit was made based on Joanne's description using computer software, but police were still unable to determine an identity. In August, police discovered that a Shell truck stop in Alice Springs had security footage showing a man who matched that very description given by Joanne, who was also driving a vehicle that matched the same description as well. Police released the video to the public, hoping someone would recognize him, but that didn't happen, so they switched tactics and started looking closer at the vehicle. They could see from the security footage it was a 1991 to 99 model Toyota Land Cruiser four-wheel drive. They discovered there were 36 of those vehicles registered to men in the area. One of those 36 men was a man named Bradley John Murdoch, originally from Geraldton, West Western Australia. Bradley Murdoch was born February 1958. He was married in 1984, divorced in 1986, and somewhere in between there, he had a son. Murdoch was an experienced bush mechanic. He was described as having a deep hatred for women,
Oh,
which,
great.
isn't nice. Isn't nice. That was one way to put it. In 1980, Murdoch caused the death of a motorcyclist in South Australia. He was charged with dangerous driving and given a suspended sentence. In 1995, while inebriated, Murdoch fired up to 10 rounds at a group of Aboriginal football fans in Fitzroy Crossing, Western Australia. From the best I can tell, no one was hurt in the incident. The judge stated it was clear that Murdoch had a long-standing hatred of Aboriginals, so sexist and racist, I guess. Um, and the judge said he had acted in a fit of rage. He was sentenced to 21 months, released after 15. In November 2001, Murdoch was interviewed by police in Broome, Western Australia, but they found no evidence that he was involved in the Falconio case, so he was quickly released. Police spoke with the other men who owned similar trucks, but none of the leads panned out, and the case eventually went cold. Months later, in May 2002, Broome police received a tip that a man named James Heppy had 4 kilos of cannabis in his car. James was pulled over, and since the tip was found to be accurate, James was arrested. During his interview, James said he believed his former business partner and flatmate had murdered Peter Falconio. James said he had seen the man with the same black cable ties that had been used to bind Joanne's hands, and on the weekend of Peter's death, this man had been traveling through the Northern Territory on a drug run. James said the man often spoke about Peter's case, and shortly after the crime, the man, seemingly out of nowhere, cut off all his hair, shaved his mustache, and changed the canopy on his truck. The man in question? Bradley Murdoch. James said he and Murdoch ran drugs between Sedan, South Australia, and Broome, Western Australia, which is a route of like 3,250 kilometers ish. According to James, Murdoch would use amphetamines to stay awake for days while driving and then use cannabis to help him fall asleep. James and Murdoch had some sort of falling out at the end of 2001, which makes you wonder if James was throwing Murdoch under the bus because of whatever went down between the two of them. It also wouldn't hurt to give police, for lack of better words, a bigger fish to fry after you get caught with several kilos of drugs in the hopes that they reduce your sentence in exchange for information. The police contacted authorities in Northern Territory to say James Heppy had just identified Peter Falconio's killer, but for whatever reason, the Northern police didn't officially interview James for another 3 months.
Mm.
James Heppy received an 18-month sentence for drug trafficking, but for his cooperation in the Peter Falconio case, his sentence was mostly suspended. Even before interviewing James, the police were very interested to re-interview Bradley Murdoch. However, since his last interview in November 2001, Murdoch had left Broome and police were unable to find him. So they put Murdoch's name on a nationwide alert list. And while they were waiting for him to just magically pop up somewhere, on August 14th, they traveled to Perth, Western Australia, to speak with Murdoch's brother, Gary. The government made a law allowing investigators to use force when obtaining a DNA sample if they had reasonable grounds to think the person committed a crime. They explained the situation to Gary. Gary agreed to give a sample. It was sent to a lab to be compared with the unknown male DNA found on Joanne Lee's shirt. 2 weeks later, police received a hit for the alert they'd set up. Bradley John Murdoch had been arrested in a supermarket parking lot in Port Augusta, South Australia. In his vehicle police allegedly found clothing, chains, cannabis, methamphetamines, and roughly $5,000 cash. But this arrest had nothing to do with Peter Falconio. Murdoch was arrested for the rape and kidnapping of a woman and her 12-year-old daughter, whose names were not publicly released. About a week after police went to Murdoch's brother to get the DNA sample, Murdoch allegedly took the two females hostage. They lived in the Riverland region of South Australia on a property which had a small guest house kind of at the back. Murdoch occasionally stayed in that guest house when he was in the area doing his drug runs. He'd known the family for about 18 months. I don't know how he met them, but he'd known them for a while. On August 22nd, Murdoch visited the property, and according to the woman, Murdoch was using a lot of speed and cannabis at the time. He asked the 12-year-old to help him unpack, and when she entered the guest house, he raped her.
Oh,
According to the child, Murdoch told her if she moved, he would give her brain damage, which is easily one of the darkest things we've ever heard on this show.
yeah.
Murdoch then allegedly bound the girl's hands with cable ties and chained her in the back of his truck. He then grabbed the mother, bound and gagged her, and placed her in the truck next to her daughter. Both said he threatened to shoot them and that he was wearing a gun in a shoulder holster the entire time. Murdoch then allegedly drove around with the woman and her daughter in his truck for hours, only stopping to refuel the truck and once to sexually assault the mother. Murdoch allegedly told the woman that police had gotten a DNA sample from his brother, and he knew it was only a matter of time before he'd be arrested for Peter Falconio's murder. However, he claimed it was because he was being framed. Murdoch allegedly told them he only took them because he needed some insurance to get away. About 20 hours after being taken, the mother and daughter were dropped off at a gas station in Port Augusta, South Australia. Murdoch allegedly gave them $1,000 cash, told them to go home, and said if they went to the police, he would kill them. The day after the crime, the mother disposed of both her clothing and her daughter's. They were so terrified that Murdoch would return, they waited 5 days before contacting the police. Murdoch was later arrested on 2 counts of rape and 2 counts of false imprisonment. During that trial, the mother said that Murdoch told her he was going to kill a drug associate, shoot a couple of bikers, and then take his own life because he was tired of being on the run. She also testified that Murdoch mentioned the Peter Falconio case several times, both before the abduction and during. When she asked Murdoch why he had taken them, he allegedly just said, "You were in the wrong place at the wrong time." The defense team accused the mother and her daughter of making the entire thing up because there was no physical evidence. And 2 weeks after the trial started, Murdoch was acquitted of all charges. But speaking of evidence, 2 months after police got a DNA sample from Murdoch's brother, their lab determined the sample was a partial match to the unknown male DNA found on the back of Joanne Lee's shirt. So before Murdoch could leave the courthouse following his acquittal, he was immediately arrested for the murder of Peter Falconio and the assault and attempted kidnapping of Joanne Lees. Murdoch was immediately extradited to Darwin, Northern Territory, to face trial. Due to the intense media coverage of the trial, the courthouse in Darwin was given a $900,000 renovation to be able to handle it.
Wow.
The trial started in October 2005. Bradley Murdoch pleaded not guilty. During the trial, it was suggested that Murdoch had seen Peter and Joanne either in Alice Springs or at the truck stop in Tea Tree, and he followed them with the intent of sexually assaulting Joanne. Murdoch then allegedly waited until the van was in the middle of nowhere before convincing Peter to pull over, after which Murdoch allegedly shot him in the head, hid his body, and attempted to abduct Joanne. This timeline of events is based solely on Joanne Lee's memory, as she didn't hear Peter after that supposed gunshot. But again, when police checked the scene, there was no blood spatter, there was no blood trail, there was just that single pool of blood. And while that might seem suspicious for a gunshot wound, especially one to the head, I mean, the blood did come back as a match to Peter Falconio. During the investigation, 3 DNA sources were discovered, one on the gear shift in the combi van, one on the tape from the cable tie handcuffs that were used to bind Joanne's hands, and one on the back of Joanne's t-shirt. The partial DNA profile found on the gear shift in the van was a match to 1 in 34 people on the national database, which doesn't make sense to me. But tests could not conclusively determine if the sample belonged to Murdoch, but tests also couldn't exclude him either. Some sources claim the DNA was absolutely Murdoch, others say it was too weak to get a positive match. The DNA profile found on the tape on the cable tie handcuffs was said to be 100 million times more likely to have come from Murdoch than anyone else. The DNA profile from the smudge of blood on the back of Joanne's t-shirt was determined to be more likely than not Murdoch. The defense argued the lab testing had been contaminated and that it was more than possible the smudge of blood on the back of the shirt was a simple case of transfer. Earlier that day, Peter and Joanne ate at the Red Rooster restaurant in Alice Springs, and according to Murdoch, he stopped by that very same restaurant that very same day to buy chicken for himself and his dog. The defense also argued the sample found on the tape from the handcuffs could have been planted by police because that tape wasn't found at the crime scene until 3 months later. And while I won't suggest the evidence was planted, I will say it's incredibly strange that despite multiple searches of the area, including one by a professional tracker, the piece of tape wasn't found for months.
Yeah.
Um, Also found with that tape was a tube of lip gloss, which was determined to belong to Joanne Lee's. How thorough were these initial searches? Was anything else missed? How did a piece of tape manage to stay in an open area despite wind over the span of 3 months? I'm not saying I believe Murdoch is a good guy, but just something feels off
Yeah.
about that
Absolutely.
in particular. Um, like how the only footprints distinguishable at the scene belonged to Joanne. I know police were walking in and around the area searching for Peter, so they likely destroyed a lot of clear footprints, but there were no paw prints from the dog. That also felt weird. Um,
Yeah.
when it was time for Joanne to testify, she said during the attack, she just kept screaming Peter's name. She was begging him to help her. She said she was more scared of being raped than she was of dying. To avoid a potential rape, Joanne said she just focused on trying to escape. Now, something odd I will point out. When she first spoke with police, Joanne said Murdoch hit her on the head so hard that she was briefly stunned and may have passed out. After she was rescued, Joanne was taken to a hospital in Alice Springs where she was checked out by Dr. Matthew Wright. The doctor testified that throughout the examination, Joanne never mentioned being hit in the head or losing consciousness at any time. Um, I mean, she was likely terrified at the time, so it's possible she forgot to bring it up, didn't say, I don't know. It just feels like an odd omission. The doctor said that Joanne did have bruising, multiple abrasions to her knees and elbow, and a scratch on her lower back. but he said nothing of any sort of head injury. While being cross-examined, Joanne was asked about an affair that she had while in Australia. Apparently, while working at a bookstore in Sydney, Joanne met Nick Riley, an IT worker from London, who also happened to be traveling through Australia at the time. The two hit it off and ended up having a month-long affair, although Joanne really struggled to call it that. During her testimony, she said, "I wouldn't class it as an affair or a relationship." However, she admitted to lying to Peter and saying she was going to meet a female friend when she was actually going off to meet Nick. Joanne described it as, quote, "We were friends and we overstepped the boundary of friendship. He was a good friend and we became closer and we were intimate at one time." Once they left Sydney, Joanne and Nick remained in contact through email, but Joanne had Nick listed in her contacts as Steph to give the appearance like she was emailing a woman. Uh, Joanne and Nick made arrangements to meet in Berlin after both of them had returned home. Joanne said, quote, "I did love Pete with all my heart, and when that happened, I did overstep the boundaries of friendship, but it made me love Pete even more and value what we had." And while I don't doubt Joanne's feelings for Peter, I find it interesting that she makes it sound like cheating made her realize that she had really strong feelings for Peter. And even then, she made arrangements to meet this guy again after the trip was over, especially when you recall that section of the memoir I mentioned earlier. Joanne claimed she and Peter were going to get married in Bora Bora before they headed home. So was she planning to meet up with this potential lover after she got married? And I get it, people make mistakes, but after you allegedly realized you made this mistake, you then made plans to see this man again? To what end? Once you cross a boundary with someone, it's pretty hard to go back. So why risk having this man in your life? I can't imagine what Joanne went through the night of her attempted abduction. I just have so many questions about this affair and why she was ever planning on seeing this man again. When the affair was mentioned in court, it was stated that it was uncertain whether Peter knew about it or not. If he knew about it, it might explain why they each bought plane tickets to a different place. Maybe he found out about it and decided he needed space. I don't know. Um, but if it's true, it still doesn't explain what happened on the highway that night. When Murdoch testified, he admitted, yeah, he smuggled drugs across the country. In fact, he often hid large amounts of drugs in a fuel tank. He admitted he owned two handguns. He admitted he was in Alice Springs that exact day. And he admitted, yeah, he went to the Red Rooster that same day. However, he said after leaving Alice Springs, he took the Tanami track northwest through the desert, which would have put him roughly 200 miles from the spot where Peter was last seen. We, of course, have no proof where he was in that moment. There was that CCTV footage from a gas station in Alice Springs at 12:38 a.m. that night. And while Murdoch agreed he had a similar appearance to the man in the footage, he denied that it was him. Footage grainy at best, so it's tough to say. I mean, he has similar size and build. He denied being anywhere near that building. Murdoch said, quote, "Yeah, I'm a rat bag. I've belted a lot of fucking people. I've run a bit of pot, but I'm not a fucking monster." I just like rat bag, if I may. Rat bag is almost as charming to me as Diet Cokies.
I agree.
I've never heard someone call, like, I've heard dirt bag and I've heard people called a rat. I've just never heard rat bag.
I like rat bag.
It's very funny to me. It shouldn't be in this moment. We find joy where we can.
We do.
After deliberating for 8 hours, the jury came back with a unanimous verdict. Bradley John Murdoch was found guilty of the murder of Peter Falconio and the abduction and assault of Joanne Lees. He was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 28 years before being eligible for parole. A year later, Murdoch's lawyers filed an appeal claiming he hadn't received a fair trial. They stated that Murdoch was convicted based on the DNA evidence on Joanne's shirt and Joanne's identification of him, and that's it. And while again, they tried to push the theory that the DNA got on the shirt through transfer because they both happened to be at the same place on the same day, um, the main focus of their appeal was the complaint of Joanne's identification of Murdoch as the driver who convinced Peter to pull over. It was determined before picking Murdoch's picture out of a photo lineup, Joanne had seen a photo of Murdoch on a BBC website with an article that listed Murdoch as the suspect in Peter's case. To be fair, I mean, the picture she saw on the website, Murdoch had short hair and was clean shaven. The picture she picked out of the lineup, he had long hair and a mustache. There still is something unsettling about the fact that she saw his picture before she was then shown a picture to identify him.
Yeah.
During the attempted abduction, it was dark, so it's possible in that hectic moment, Joanne didn't get a good look at the man's face. I'm not suggesting Murdoch was innocent, because it's pretty hard to explain his DNA on Joanne's shirt. Um, I just don't buy the transfer theory. What are the odds that a man and his dog would visit Alice Springs in a vehicle similar to what Joanne saw, and that they would stop at the same restaurant? If this supposed transfer happened, well, that means that Murdoch was bleeding at the restaurant, but his lawyers never gave a plausible reason of why he would have been bleeding at that restaurant. They were just like, obviously it's transfer. And I'm like, I don't know. Um, Murdoch's lawyers also complained that when Joanne was shown photos of dogs, she misidentified the one belonging to Murdoch. And when she chose the wrong photo, police gave her a second chance to try again and pick the dog, and she did the second time. So I get it. I get why his lawyers are unhappy. It was also determined that Joanne had told police during the struggle she lost her hair tie. So when police found a hair tie in Murdoch's truck, they acted like they had a smoking gun. But it was a completely different hair tie than the one she had described was missing. And it didn't have Joanne's DNA on it. It also didn't have DNA of any female at all. So we don't know where the hair tie came from. And if we're going to talk about things that don't feel right, no fingerprints belonging to Murdoch were found in the combi van. So if we assume he moved the vehicle, how did he not leave any prints? Was he wearing gloves? Did someone else move the van? Was there a potential unknown accomplice? Or did someone else entirely move the van? Vince Miller, one of the drivers of the road train who picked Joanne up, um, he told police before seeing Joanne, he saw a red car parked along the side of the road. Two men were standing beside the vehicle, holding up a third man between them. Vince said, quote, I got out of my truck thinking they were broken down, and I saw there was a man that looked like jelly in between the two other men. They then took off. Once I pulled up, they were out of there. The way they got in that car and took off, there was something they didn't want me to see. I'm sorry, Vince, that is hearsay. But Vince also stated that the man being held up in the middle very well could have been Peter Falconio. If this is true, and Joanne was picked up shortly after, that could mean that Joanne knows more about what happened to Peter than she's letting on. But why make up a story about a man and his dog in a white truck if the crime was really committed by two guys in a red car? What could those men have said or threatened to make Joanne come up with a completely different story? One that she has stuck to for the past 24 years. Despite Vince telling the police about this alleged red car, that theory was never investigated at all. But if that theory is possible, it would mean Joanne lied about what happened. And while anything is possible, the media really treated her like they thought she was lying. Um, they claimed that they believed Joanne was guilty of either being involved in Peter's disappearance or at the very least knowing more than what she claimed. But they based this solely on the fact that she wasn't publicly grieving in the way they expected her to. And to that I say, back off. Everyone grieves in their own way, and to be forced to do so in such a public way cannot be easy. Yes, there are a few things about Joanne's story that seem strange, like the lack of footprints at the scene, the fact that she only identified a photo of Murdoch after seeing one online. But the road train drivers described Joanne as distraught and visibly shaken, so she'd clearly been through something that night. I don't know if she's lying about her story, um, but I don't think she was involved in what happened to Peter because when it comes down to it, what would be her motive? Even if she wanted to be with someone else, why wouldn't she just break up with Peter then or when they got home? She wasn't gonna financially gain from his death. So what was the motive? There were also claims that since there was no body, Peter Falconio faked his own death as part of some sort of life insurance scam. Multiple people claim that they've seen Peter since his disappearance. None of the sightings were ever substantiated. And while Peter did get a life insurance policy shortly before the trip, that motive doesn't make sense. He was incredibly close with his family, so it doesn't make sense he would willingly subject them to this for decades or willingly walk away from them forever. Not to mention, in the end, the insurance company never actually paid out the policy. So why go through all this effort for nothing? If he wanted to just start a new life, why go to the trouble of leaving his blood behind and make people think he's dead, as opposed to just canceling the plane ticket and not returning home? So, just like how I don't think Joanne has a motive, I also don't think Peter had a motive to fake his own death. But then what happened to him? Did Murdoch really kill him and manage to hide the body somewhere it's never been found? Or did something happen with the men in that red car? Joanne said they smoked a joint earlier in the evening. Is it possible the men in that red car were drug dealers and something happened? Maybe they tried to rob the couple. If that's true, why didn't Joanne just say that? Why implicate another man entirely? But at the same time, she gave the description to the police before she knew about the CCTV footage from the gas station. So, what are the odds that Joanne would describe seeing a man that would later show up on security cameras in the area if she actually hadn't seen him? And if Murdoch wasn't involved, how'd his DNA end up on her shirt? The entire thing is maddening. It feels like we have all the pieces, but the puzzle, for whatever reason, just won't fit together. Bradley Murdoch has attempted to appeal his conviction multiple times. Each time he was denied. In April 2006, Murdoch made a huge fuss about having to eat chicken that was being served in prison, claiming he was allergic to chicken. Um, but at the Peter Falconio trial, Murdoch claimed he went to the Red Rooster to buy chicken for himself and his dog. The place where the defense team claimed that whole DNA transfer happened. So have you always been allergic to chicken and you just ate it that day anyway? Or is this chicken allergy new? Or you're just
Is it
kicking up a
just prison
fuss?
chicken? Is he allergic to prison chicken specifically?
Yeah, I mean, could be. In 2016, the Northern Territory government introduced a law called No Body, No Parole, meaning Murdoch would never be eligible for parole until he admitted to the location of Peter Falconio's remains. At the time the law was created, Murdoch was the only prisoner who would be affected by it. So clearly, this law was made as a Hail Mary to try and get information out of Murdoch, but Murdoch continued to claim his innocence. In 2019, Bradley Murdoch was diagnosed with throat cancer, and over the years, it eventually spread to his brain. He was transferred to palliative care at the Alice Springs Hospital in June 2025, where he died 21 days later at the age of 67. After leaving Australia, Joanne Lees studied sociology at Sheffield University. She became a social worker and eventually moved full time to Australia. Over the years, Joanne made several attempts to help find Peter's remains, but was never successful. In 2008, the combi van was finally released by the Supreme Court, which had apparently been storing it in their basement for 7 years. Um, as the only remaining owner of the vehicle, Joanne was asked what she wanted done with it. She requested the van be destroyed. Around 2016, Joanne spoke about her plans to have a silver falcon sculpture built in Peter's honor in Tea Tree, the place she says they shared their last happy memory. As of 2020, those plans seem to have been shelved. Since then, Peter's parents had a bench dedicated to their son in their hometown. The Peter Falconio case inspired the Australian horror film Wolf Creek, which was released in 2005. The movie also took inspiration from the infamous backpacker murders committed by serial killer Ivan Milat between 1989 and 1992 in New South Wales. In June 2025, Australian police announced a $500,000 reward for information leading to the discovery of Peter Falconio's remains. It was assumed that Murdoch disposed of the remains somewhere between Alice Springs and Broome, but that is a 1,700-kilometer distance, so it should not be a surprise that as of this record, Peter Falconio has never been found. Reporting for True Crime and Cocktails, I'm Christy Oxborrow.
I'm fired up.
I like that.
I'm fired up. Let's take a quick break, grab a drink, get a Diet Cokie, hit the can, and we'll be right back for me to discuss my fired up feelings about the Peter Falconio case on this episode of True Crime and Cocktails. Clap two on three. 1, 2, 3. Welcome back to this episode of True Crime and Cocktails. We're, of course, discussing the Peter Falconio case, and I have a lot of thoughts and opinions. All right, let me get into it. We're just gonna dive in. I love that because when I take my note, I'm writing the whole time, but I always star the things that I'm like, this is something to bring
You
up.
absolutely want to hit that for sure. Yeah.
Right. And I just wrote, with camel racing, is there a jockey? And then you've kind
Yeah.
of answered that question. But I love that that was the most pressing. That was the first note that I was like, this is pressing to know.
I
Stupid.
like it. I like it a lot.
Okay. I'm going to say this right out the gate. And this is potentially an unpopular opinion. So I get that.
Hmm.
Regardless of what the truth is, I don't believe that he should have been convicted.
Interesting.
I believe there's reasonable doubt.
Sure.
And I think it's wild that he got convicted because as we know from doing this show long enough, and if you're a true crime somebody who consumes true crime, I also know that you all know this, which is no body, very hard to get a conviction in general.
Yeah.
Very difficult. Now, this guy's a piece of shit. I mean, we know he raped a child. He raped the child's mother. Like I'm not defending him at all, to be clear. In fact, I mean, there's a part of me that's like, oh, it's good that he's in jail because he got off for those horrific crimes, sex crimes. So am I sad he's in jail? Absolutely not. I know he's dead now, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that
Sure.
doesn't bother. It's not like I'm like this, man, it's an injustice. Like, no. Justice was still served. He should have been in prison. But I'm just talking in terms of like this case. I'm
Mhm.
surprised that they got a conviction. And
Yeah.
and ultimately I'm like, I don't know. As you know, I talk about this on the show all the time. If you've listened for a while, and that I believe in the justice system, and that sometimes people there is rules in place to protect us, and it's not I wouldn't have been happy if he didn't get convicted. It's not that. It's just that it's like it doesn't sit right with me. And then when we start hearing these other details, like, well, part of the DNA conviction was this piece of tape that was found 3 months later.
Right?
Guys, I don't know, man. That's very tough for me to believe. I find it very hard to believe that in a rural area, a piece of tape would stay in the same area and not be blown away after 3 months. I find that very hard to believe. The
Right?
fact that there's no shell casing, the fact that we don't even know if he was shot, we're just basing that on speculation because she said she heard a bang.
Yeah.
That's not a fact,
No.
right? So, do I think that there's a world in which the truth is somewhere in the middle? I do. Do I think it's possible that he could have stalked them, for lack of a better term, to try and assault her? Sure. Do I think that there's also a world in which that doesn't mean that he necessarily acted alone or that he was responsible for the death of Peter? I also believe that that could be true because I'm just going to go out on a limb here. And again, I know this is going to sound like I'm defending Murdoch, and I promise you I'm not. But I think again, it's important when we're talking about these things to talk about every angle. We've talked about that on the show many times. And to me, is the target is are they a good target? Like typically it's like, did you want to fight with the man? Like, was it something
Mm,
about like I'm talking about MO here, like why would you go after a couple where there's a man? Like, I think that it would be more putting myself in the fucking eyes of a predator, like the mother and
uh-huh.
daughter, that's an easy target.
Sure.
Going after a couple where there's a man, like that there's going to be some kind of fight. And now, do I believe there's a world in which he got off on that? Sure. But again, it's just atypical. I think it's
Right.
atypical that it's like that's the target. I'm going to stalk those people for a long distance,
Right.
get him out of the way to assault her. Now, the fact that the MO was the same, that she was tied with the cable ties, put in the back of the truck, the fact that he chained the mother and daughter in the
Hmm.
truck when we know that Joanne is saying she was able to escape out the back, that makes me go, well, sounds like it was him,
Sure.
right? Because it sounds like he has this same MO, but then it just escalated the next time. I think there is something interesting about him telling the mother and daughter, it's so horrible that he was like giving them his life story.
I know.
Uh, but there's something that's very interesting that he was like, I'm doing this because I know I'm being framed. Now, I understand that we can't trust him for so many reasons,
Right.
but at the same time, when this other theory or this other eyewitness account of the two men holding up a third man by the red car comes out, I go, this is where to me, this is where the reasonable doubt comes in because again, we're trusting Joanne's story. Okay.
Right.
But someone else has this added additional thing that's when there's no footprints at the scene of the crime, there's no bullet casing, very little blood. And I'm so sorry. The one thing that I won't let go of is if that man was shot, there would be splatter. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yes,
Especially if he
that's
was shot
science.
somewhere near that vehicle. Wouldn't there be on that vehicle?
A zillion percent. And not to get graphic and gross, but if it's a shot to the head, we also know likely brain matters. There would be skull fragments. There's like it's not just blood, right? Like a
Right.
bullet does we know this. Bullets do a lot of damage and I just don't buy it. It doesn't make sense to me that there would be, obviously an attack happened. We know this. I'm not suggesting there wasn't. Was there another car? Again, this is the thing. Again, I'm like, was there something else that she couldn't see? If we're to believe that her entire story is correct, which again, it could be. I'm not saying that it wasn't, but in dissecting all of this, is it possible this other red car was hidden somewhere? Is it possible there was
Mm,
somebody else behind the truck
right.
with Murdoch? Again, did he maybe not act alone? I don't know. Like it just feels like there's got well, no, we know that there has to be some other element. Because then also, yeah, like where did you hide the body? How did you hide it so well? I understand what you were saying is there's, a huge stretch that it could have been, but it just doesn't make any sense. Like it feels more plausible that he was hit over the head or something. And then that's
Hmm.
what caused the blood pooling. Even then, there would probably still be some amount of splatter. But
Right.
but then, yeah, he was taken in a car and moved. That feels more plausible than like, oh, he was hidden in the bush. Like what? And then my other question again, she's saying, I got out of the truck and I hid in bushes and they didn't find you?
There has been a lot of like comments about like this specifically like bred herding animal didn't track you even though it walked right past you. It didn't sense a human, it didn't smell a human,
She wouldn't have been
nothing.
able
I
to
don't.
get that far. There's no way, right?
Right.
And she's not suggesting she did get that far. But the idea that she's like, oh, they walked by me quite a few times and they never found me. Yeah, when there's also a dog, I find that hard to believe. So then my question is, we know that he threatened the mother and daughter
Right.
with again these horrific threats. If you move, I'll give you brain damage. So specific, so dark.
So I know.
But then also like if you come after me, if you call the police, I'll kill you. Like, is it possible that she again is covering something up? Because I don't know. It just doesn't, there's something that seems off about this. There's something that seems off to me about, you know, I hid nearby and they just never found me and then they just left.
Right?
Weird.
It seems weird.
It's weird. Um, the other reality too is it, if we know that they were all at the Red Rooster around the same time, like I find it fascinating that she saw the picture of it. And this is another thing. Again, I don't disagree with the lawyers saying it's prejudicial if she had seen an article saying this is a man who is a suspect in this murder, this potential murder, before she did the lineup. That is, I mean, again, if we're just talking about the law, it's like that is kind of an issue, guys. And we know she would have seen him or potentially seen him at the Red Rooster earlier. So to me, it's not
Right.
implausible that she, if, and I'm not saying she, again, I don't want people to come for me that I'm like victim shaming or blaming or whatever, but like, I don't know. There's just some piece of this that feels off to me. And it's like trauma can also do a lot to the brain. Is it possible that it's like, could it have been someone that looked like him and she was, who knows? I mean, again, it could have all happened so quickly. It's like, are you certain that, I mean, the dog, misidentifying the dog is odd. The police giving her a second chance, not great. Like, these are all things, again, that I'm like, I don't know. This feels, again, like it's a wild conviction. Um, Again, I'm glad he did the time. He deserved it for what he did to those other women. Excuse me, the mother and child. Um, if nothing else, right? Now, here's my question. James Heppy gets arrested for this drug charge,
Mhm.
immediately rats out Murdoch.
Yep.
Immediately. So then I'm
Yep.
going, we find out that they had a falling out. Was it Murdoch who was the anonymous tip about Heppy?
Oh, that would make sense.
Does Heppy either know that Murdoch did this or assume that Murdoch did this and then immediately rats him out? And then the other thing I would say is that these are two men that are making a living out of doing intense drug running, both not reliable narrators, right? Like both people who not necessarily truth tellers. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's
Right.
like, what's going on between the two of them?
Well, what if they did it together?
This is my other, I was just going to say,
And he was like,
one,
I'm gonna
where
throw
was,
him under the bus.
right, where was James Heppy the night of the attack? What color car
Great
does James
question.
Heppy drive?
Oh, great question.
Right?
Yeah.
What other layer here is there?
Because there's
Because
something.
again, I also think there's something, and you kind of alluded to this too. She did reference that they had smoked pot. Where did they get the pot? Who did they buy it from? These are all questions that I feel would be really important in this investigation, right?
Yes.
Again, it's just it feels like again I don't know how much we can trust James Heppy is my other point is that it's like it feels like they were both throwing each other under the bus for different things. So I don't know. At first, I was also like, if they have the cable ties from the attack on the mother and daughter, and then they had the cable ties from Joanne, could they match them and make sure that they were the same cable ties? Now, this is before the
Sure.
DNA match, but that's something again
Right.
that's like, okay, well, that could prove because the MO with those two was quite close. I felt like that was something. The DNA on the shirt is like the weirdest part of it all. And I feel like that's what ultimately got them the conviction because it's
Oh,
hard to
yes.
explain otherwise how, like, yeah, the transfer thing is crazy. Um, so either the blood on the shirt was a match and that is the smoking gun,
Right.
or if we are to go down the conspiracy rabbit hole that DNA was planted, I mean, then will we ever know? Right? I mean, I understand that they collected the DNA at the time that the crime happened, but if we're planting DNA at other, and again, I'm not saying that they did, but in a world where they did plant that other DNA evidence,
Right.
I don't, it's just as easy to falsify results, right? Like they could have just said it was a match.
Right.
Time had passed, right? So they had already decided who they wanted to pin the crime on, you could say.
Right.
I guess I don't know. I just find the like motive, any motive here is weird. So it's like, all right, so Murdoch is doing a lot of amphetamines. He's making irrational choices or what have you. He gets it in his head that he wants to assault Joanne and he's willing to do anything to make that happen, including taking out Peter to do it. That there's a lot of, I don't know. It's not really a crime of opportunity. It's like, I guess it is in the sense that he spotted them and then followed them, but I don't know. There's just something about that motive that also feels off to me. I'm like, again, it's like it's an odd thing. Like, especially if he hadn't. Now, I'm not saying he hadn't. It's more than possible he had committed crimes like that before. Who knows? But, and just was never, caught or whatever. But
Sure.
I don't know. Something about that also just doesn't sit with me. Um, and then we get to the affair. And here's the thing. That doesn't mean anything. I'm not suggesting that because she had an affair, whatever it was, an inappropriate relationship with another man, that means she's a liar. That means that she had him killed. I'm not suggesting any of that. Lots of people make choices all the time. That doesn't make them bad people. I'm not inferring that at all. It's unfortunate because in terms of a court case and a murder,
Mm.
it's I'm sure they made her life hell in the press with that.
Oh, yeah.
So I do think that that's unfortunate. The only question I have to ask is what color car did Nick Riley drive?
Oh, sure.
Now, then we're getting into a whole other conspiracy theory that she was a part of this. And I don't think that that's true because again, the to be honest, it's the mother and daughter case and the fact that the MO was the same and the zip ties and the back of the truck. That says to me, okay, I don't think Joanne is making this whole thing up. I don't. It
Right.
feels like it would be way too coincidental that she would have all those details before that other crime even happened.
Right.
All I'm saying is there some other layer to this? You know, was there some sort of altercation that happened with them and the red car men?
Mm.
Did Murdoch come across it? Were they having an altercation on the side of the road with these other guys, these unknown men?
Interesting.
Did he come across it and then it becomes a crime of opportunity?
Oh,
See
sure.
what I'm saying? Like, is it this woman is in need and she flags him down for help? He assaults her.
Right. I
Is
mean,
there
it's
something going,
possible.
you know what I'm saying? Like it just feels like you're saying, it's like we have so many pieces of the puzzle, but it's like they're just not, there's like one missing. And I feel like there's
Yeah.
some detail. It just feels like again, like the fact that the red car report was never properly investigated is wild to me.
Right?
Yeah.
It's especially at that point. because they wouldn't have, they didn't know who Murdoch was yet.
Right.
So at that point, when you're told, like, hey, there was this car, this whatever, why didn't you put as much information looking for a red car as you did going, well, I guess we have this white truck? It's almost like they heard her story, went, she never mentioned a red car, so we're going to ignore it.
Right.
It's like, well, maybe look into it. It's just so infuriating because it feels like it should be there. And I know it almost feels solved because someone was convicted, but I mean, it's also like there's a part of me that's like, God, did he do this? But then it's also like, if he didn't, why would he suddenly commit a crime after he learns his brother's DNA was taken and his mind goes immediately, the police are going to come for me? Like his thought was, the second they check his DNA, I'm done. So I'm like, so you know your DNA is involved in this somehow.
Well, I mean, the way he was positioning it was that he was being framed. Also,
And
could be the paranoia of the methamphetamine. I don't know.
oh, that's a good point. It
That
just,
being
oh,
said, again, like I do feel like he was there. It feels like he was there. I don't, it's just there's some details that just don't make sense to me. Like there's obviously there's just things that like just don't add up. It just doesn't make sense. And
right?
again, no dog paw prints. The only footprints were hers. It's weird.
It is weird that of all of the footprints, it's like you only ever found hers. Why is that?
Why weren't there any of Peter's?
Right?
And then in that to that point, if these other two men are involved, where are their footprints? That throws that out the window, right? Like it's like again, I feel like a snake eating its tail. Like it's just every time you think that you've gone, this is it. It's like, well, then there's this other thing that contradicts it.
100%.
Why would he have been bleeding at the restaurant? Exactly. It's very strange. Why would she, if she lied, why would she lie?
Right?
The only thing that comes close to a motive for her is, unfortunately, her having this other relationship. Then you
Right.
can go, well, there is the potential, there is a possible motive, whether
Sure.
it's true or not, right? It's like that does add that possibility into the mix. But then we're getting into what does that look like? And was she really planning to have her partner murdered so she could be with this other guy? That doesn't make any sense. They were already planning separate travel, so it doesn't feel like she would make that move.
I would also love to know if that other guy was gonna be in that area. Like, was that why she was traveling where she did? Was he like, hey, we should go to Papua New Guinea because it's not that far from here? And she went, I'd rather not, and made plans to go see him? Like,
Well, the fact that they had plans to meet up in Berlin, again, like it's very unfortunate that her partner was murdered because it's like now all of this is under a microscope, right? Now it's like,
right?
I mean, is there any proof that they were actually going to get married? I mean, these are the questions, but I understand also that it's like the police weren't investigating her, so why would they ask these things? I get that. Um, it's also interesting to me that Murdoch always maintained his innocence, that even when it was like, if you tell us where the body is, then you can get parole, or you won't get parole until you tell us where the body is.
Right?
And he was like, no, I'm innocent. I don't know. And then it's also interesting to me that she moved to Australia full time. And I feel two ways about that. One, I can understand that it's like this partner, this love of her life was never found. She wants to go, she wants to devote her life to it, or wants to feel like, whatever. I understand that. On the other hand, it's also like, God, that's torturing yourself.
Oh, yeah.
You're
Because
not from there, right? Like you don't want to move back to your home country and be around friends and family. Like it's just interesting. It's not a judgment. It's just interesting.
I mean, the landscape is also so different
Hmm.
between the two that it is surprising. I mean, yeah, if that's where she wants to be, that's where she's comfortable. She maybe met friends and started to build a life in the 5 months that they were living. and working there during their trip, sure. I just think seeing that same terrain would be too much that I couldn't personally handle it, but I mean if
Yeah.
she wanted to start over completely, I guess.
Yeah. In a
And
place
hey,
that was so traumatic. It's interesting from a
yeah,
psychologist's perspective. It's interesting to make that
sure.
choice. Again, I'm not saying it's good, bad, or indifferent. It's just interesting.
Oh, 100%. And hey, look, if that's the choice you wanted to make, good for her.
Yeah.
Choosing to up and move to another country. Sure.
This is just this one is I know I say this a lot on this show, but this one has really unraveled me. It's wild.
Right? It feels like it should be
Yeah.
so close. But
Yeah.
then at the same time, it's like, but nothing makes sense.
It doesn't make sense. It feels extremely coincidental that he would have been at the Red Rooster at the same time as them, and then it wasn't him. When then the crime also happened in the same way that this mother-daughter attack happened.
Yeah.
That's way too coincidental. So again, like I'm saying, it makes me feel like yes, he was there. Yes,
Right?
that happened. But there's just a piece that doesn't make sense. Because again, all right, how about this? He kills Peter.
Okay.
Then what does he do with the body? One would think he would put it into his truck and drive it somewhere.
Right?
Otherwise, if he, like, how far can you drag a body? If the body's not in that vicinity, in that close vicinity,
Right?
then he's put it in his vehicle and he's driven it somewhere. Then I say, is there blood in his vehicle? Was there blood in the back of the truck? Was Peter's blood there?
Right?
Because if he was bleeding, which we know he was, his blood was found at the scene of the crime, there's going
Yeah.
to be blood in that truck.
Oh,
If
100%.
there's not, then again, either he's been dragged somewhere that he should have been found,
Right?
or there was these other people involved, you know, I mean, this was 2001, so cell phones existed. I'm guessing there probably wasn't good service out where they were. I'm
Oh,
just like, did he
sure.
call somebody and be like, I need you to move a body? I mean, this man ran drugs for a living. Obviously, he would have access potentially to people that would help him out in that way.
Sure.
But then again, why wouldn't Joanne say? And then another car pulled up, or then I heard this. Like,
Right?
it doesn't make any sense.
It's also like, why are you taking this much effort to hide the body?
Right.
Like, what is it? What is it about the body that you're like, if they find the body, they could trace it to me? Like, why go to that level to hide the body that it's just never been found?
That doesn't make sense. It
Oh,
feels like if there's no blood in his vehicle, if
yeah.
none of Peter's blood is in his vehicle, then there was someone else that moved it. I think that I can say that because it does, they would have found it. What is this man
Right.
dragging 100 and however many pounds man's body? Like, how you can't, even if you're in the peak of fitness, like, it's like that's not easy. It's not easy to like drag a body around. And also, it also doesn't feel impossible to me that he wasn't dead yet.
A
Especially if these other
hundred
people
percent.
were like, we saw a man that was like, you know,
Yeah. And
was
also, if
kind of
they didn't find
slumped.
footprints, they didn't say anything about finding drag marks either. So to your
How would
point,
there not be drag
how'd
marks?
they, where'd they put the body? How'd they get it from point A to point B?
Yeah,
It's
it's not like it's getting
infuriating.
lifted out of the sky. Like it feels like it was lifted out of the sky.
Yeah. It's madness.
It's madness. Oh, I can see myself going in circles on this one. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Ultimately, like I said, I'm glad he did the jail time. I think he absolutely deserved to be in there without question. I think this case, I think it's wild that they convicted him based on the
Oh,
the,
yeah.
the holes that they had. And it's also interesting to me that his defense didn't dig into the red car theory.
100%.
Because often, you know, I've heard many times as we're in this true crime world that like part of the burden on the defense is to not only disprove their client's guilt, but to then offer another option of
Right?
this is who someone else could have been that did it, right?
Right?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Oh, it's just the whole thing is just maddening
Yeah,
because there seems like there's a lot, but then none of it makes sense when you look at it together.
no. And if there was also some sort of phenomenon where it's like, well, maybe with the wind or something, like maybe the I don't know, the dust, the footprints disappeared quickly, then I would say then a piece of tape wasn't lying around there for 3 months.
It's the tape. It's just like every single thing about this, I'm like, doesn't sit right.
No,
It's just, there's nothing that I'm like, that I'm comfortable going, yeah, that all makes sense. It's like,
no,
none of this makes sense.
no.
I'm enraged.
You and me both. But listen, what a fantastic episode of the show. Amazing work as always. 12 out of 10.
I was just so excited to find a horse named Nicolas Cage, if
It's
I'm being
unbelievable.
honest.
I will be reeling about that for months. And we thank you, dear listeners, for coming with us on this wild ride. If you haven't already, give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at True Crime and Cocktails, on Twitter at Not Detectives. If you'd like some bonus content, go over to patreon.com/, True Crime and Cocktails to learn more about our subscription-based service for bonus content over there. And of course, the only place for official True Crime and Cocktails merch is, of course, truecrewmerch.com. So check that out as well. And I got to plug it again, laurenash.band. If you'd like to come see me live, check out the concert tickets available there. And if you could give me a purchase of the album on iTunes, I'd be forever grateful for you. And by the time next week's episode rolls around, it will be out into the world. So how wonderful is that? Christy, do you want to tell the people about next week's episode?
On the next True Crime and Cocktails. I don't know why I sassy added that, but it's fine. Um, Unknown caller, high school catfish.
So excited. I'm sure that many of you just squealed with excitement like I did when she was like, hey, do you think we should do this one soon? And I said, yes, yes,
Yeah.
because I'm desperate to talk about it. And I have lots of opinions on that. Um, so yeah, I'm very excited. I cannot wait. Christy, do you want to say goodnight to the people?
Um, uh, to Nicolas Cage.
Good night, Diet Cokies.